Okay, so recently, Dave Mustaine came out of the closet. No, just kidding. He came out and said that there's no more masterpieces. There's no more Nirvanas with their Neverminds. There's no more Metallicas with Master of Puppets. And he's right. He hates the idea of not, never achieving more than Metallica. And yet, he gives them prop for the Master of Puppets. Despite he could have easily said "rest in peace," right? He could have just patted himself on the back and said, "Hey, there's no more masterpieces like rest in peace." But then that would open him to ridicule because he's still going and he can't top himself. So he just throws all the shade at Metallica, his former friends and bandmates. Said they created a masterpiece, but now you don't even hear that anymore. Kind of a subtle dig at them, but more of a dig at the new generations that failed to take the baton from these guys, from the 80s heroes. Because that's what's supposed to happen. A young band starts off, do a couple of brilliant masterworks, and then they pass the baton. And then what happened in the 90s was that they passed it, or they didn't even pass it, couldn't. To bands like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Deftones and Slipknot and Linkin Park, that was a step down, and that was more of a commercial, basic bitch, hard rock metal rap fusion thing. So that doesn't really deserve to be part of the equation where Master Puppets and Rust in Peace exist in that universe. They're a completely separate galaxy away from what was created by actual, real, forward-thinking musicians. And then after that, we were supposed to bounce back with a little bit more integrity and a bit more, I don't know, brainy music, or just a bit more sophisticated, or something with technology, with sense and MIDIs and all that. But it didn't really happen for metal. At least industrial music was around, but they didn't even evolve that much as well. The only thing that evolved after the 90s was drum and bass. And that really doesn't have anything to do with mainstream anything, because most of the drum and bass works are samples, and they don't have singers. They have rappers when they go on tour, but they don't have anything for the lemming section of society, the big swath of society that needs lyrics and needs to understand what they're saying in order for them to be fans of the music. Otherwise, they completely check out if there's nobody vocalizing and telling them what to think. We have not evolved out of that mentality yet, of that cattle, simplistic, basic human beings that just need basic music forever. Internet pirating destroyed a musician as a career path. Now, after that, after the explosion of pirating, the only musicians that were out there were either had roots already before the internet exploded, or they just did music out of sheer blind, idiot, passionate, fierce, just love for making music. Even though they might not be the brightest people, because obviously they would know, they should know that there's no more money in it, because internet piracy just took over that field. So you're going to make it, but you're going to be a slave, and you're going to barely make money. New bands after the 2000s, the chances of you guys making it are going to be very, very slim. Very slim and very shady. So fast forward, what we got today, newer kids, Gen Z, younger Gen Zs, they have no choice but to latch on to whatever's out there. Whatever big conglomerate record label throw at them, like the feces, corporate feces into their mouths, they'll take it. And that's why bands like Sleep Token, Falling in Reverse, Bringing Me the Horizon, and all that disgusting crap is kind of big, I guess. I'm not sure how much big, but they go on tour, and there's articles about them from metal magazines like Metal Hammer, which is obviously it's all paid for, right? And they have no choice, because metal has experienced a severe nosedive thanks to piracy. And the bands that keep going are either way too brutal black metal or grindcore underground stuff, for them to have any money to promote themselves in a big way. So you have all these like crappy like Linkin Park emo amalgam of like technology and emo lyrics that don't make any sense to most people that had good taste before internet piracy was a thing. So that's why people still fork out hundreds of dollars to go see the heroes, the old people, because they come from an organic time, hippies almost, musical hippies. Judas Priest sells out still. Metallica, of course, they're still going, especially because they were a really big commercial entity after 1991. But they're still going because a lot of people want to hear the 80s stuff, and there's nothing else like it out there. Sure, you can go see a local band or lesser known bands like Warbringer and Havoc and tons Hazard, tons of thrash tribute bands, pizza thrash. You can go do that, but they just don't have that bite. You know that. Not even the old bands have that bite anymore. It's like it's an impossible ask. I will, however, give props to Testament for sounding incredibly modern and still making semi-decent new music. I need to hear the new album again. I recommend you do that, Parabellum. But they don't have that cultural impact either. They never have. They're always kind of like a second-rate, thrash wave. We still have Death Angel as well, but they used to be one of my favorite bands. With Act 3, they brought on the funk, and they experimented, and they were showing people the way, and then they quit. When they came back, they just sounded like another generic modern band. Like, yeah, they had the aggression, but there's no more songs. They're just generic, familiarity. They're just regurgitating genericness. So that's the problem today. Our would-be heroes are left immediately after the piracy started and said, there's no more money in this business. And they went off to become accountants, lawyers, doctors, judges, Wall Street brokers, surgeons, because everybody wants to just have a nice career where they can buy a house or travel and be healthy and not worry about like not selling enough tickets on tour and not selling enough albums. Even though, like, no, it doesn't matter how much albums you sell. Like, you basically get nothing. From streaming. Spotify is garbage, and they're also fucking supporting fascists nowadays. So Spotify has to go. And all the people that are supporting Spotify, shame on you. But I digress. Dave is right. There's no more masterpieces. Master Puppets will live on forever. They were on the Library of Congress, and they are the only band there. And they were indicted in 2015, and still to this day, 10 years later, there's no other band in there that's heavy metal. You have tons of other stuff. You have Celia Cruz, you have the Beatles, you have Santana, you have Jimi Hendrix, you have the Doors, but you don't have anything heavier than that. You don't even have Black Sabbath. You don't have Iron Maiden. You don't have I can't think of a big bands. Not even Nirvana's in there, and that is kind of weird. But I mean, it can't be too surprising because honestly, Master of Puppets, amazing. In every way, it's just a compositional, the arrangements, the layered melodies, the vocals, the perfect vocals. James Hetfield had the perfect vocals in the 80s until he lost his voice, and he had incredible melodies on his lyrics and the catchy choruses. They had real songs. They put a lot of thought into it. They went into that studio, and it doesn't sound like they were rushing to get out the door to go on tour and party. Like you would expect like thrash metal musicians to do, like drink beer and hang out with whores backstage and just live that life. But this album really shows this incredible discipline that is rare, and maybe it was rare in those days. Apart from Megadeth, because Megadeth, I mean, Dave Mustaine he put a lot of effort into his guitar works. Like, say what you want, but his guitar work is incredible. You can only just imagine how incredible it would be if he had stayed in Metallica. But anyways, yeah, there's nothing like Master of Puppets. And even Justice for All, which is incredible as well, there's something lacking there. And it's pretty obvious that because Cliff Burton wasn't there helping them make the most out of their arrangements and their songs, that you know it, you feel it, and you hear, apart from there being no bass, maybe that was a tribute to Cliff Burton, but the songs just needed something extra. Like there was like a spice missing, from the recipe. So it still goes hard, and it's still a classic, and it's amazing, and it's their last great album of military service and what a scam the government is. So maybe that's something that might come out later, but I'm pretty sure the government absolutely got involved with Metallica, and maybe it was one of the main reasons why they had to sell out after Justice, because Justice is really anti-government and really anti-military, way more than Master of Puppets. So they couldn't get rid of them. They got rid of one of them on tour in Sweden, and then with Justice, they decided to just go ahead and straight up threaten their lives and their families' lives and make them disappear like only the government can. But that's my theory, and I'm going to stick to it. And I'm sure that one day the truth will come out, and these stupid Gen Z kids, maybe they'll grow up one day and realize how stupid they are. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, and you shouldn't either. These kids have no discipline. They don't study history. They don't know how to analyze things. They have ADHD, and all they care about is being trendy and current and stupid. Stupid groupthink, hate think, dumb think. Screw all these people, and long live the 80s.